Alright, let's go over this one. This problem tells us, given the 0, find the factor. So I gave you a list of numbers here, kind of like 4 examples. And what I did for the first one is you put x equals. And so here, you're trying to figure out factors you can think of have those parentheses. Well, how do you get a set of parentheses there? What can we do? We can just subtract 5 from both sides. And when I subtract 5 from both sides, what do we get? X minus 5 equals 0. So my answer for this problem is x minus 5. So here is a big idea. X equals 5 is the same thing as parentheses x minus 5. Let's try this example. I'm going to set it equal to x. Class, how do I set that equal to 0? We're going to add 3, and then I get x plus 3 equals 0. In class, what is my factor? X plus 3. Let's try a different one. I have 2i here. What do I do first? X what? Equals 2i. How do you set that equal to 0? Minus 2i. And what do we get? And what is our answer? X minus 2i. So again, x minus 2i is the same thing as x equals 2i. I have radical 5. What do I do? How do I set it equal to 0? Minus radical 5. What do I get? Equals 0. So in this case, canceling is 0. And what is my factor? X minus radical 5. Okay, so those are going from zeros. To give you an idea what a 0 is, it's where it crosses the x-axis. So if I say x equals 5, this is where x is equal to 5. That is a 0. Okay? And then these questions are just going the other direction. Given the factor, how do I know it's a factor? It has those parentheses. Now it says find the 0. In some ways, that just basically means we just need to have where it says x equals. Does that make sense? How can I get this one to say x equals? Yeah, and you can set it equal to 0 and then plus 3. Answer is x equals, canceling there equals 0 in that case, and 0 plus 3 is 3. That's my answer. X equals 3. Okay, what do you do with this one? Set it equal to? 0. Now what? Subtract 1 first. This is PEMDAS backwards, so what are you left with? How do I solve? We're going to divide by 2. X is equal to? Negative 1 over 2, negative 1/2. So if I give you the factor of 2x plus 1, that's the same thing as the 0, x equals negative 1/2. Another interpretation of that as well x equals negative 1/2. That again. X equals negative 1/2. Another reason why they call this a 0 is look at the order pair. It's negative 1/2 to the left, comma 0, because you're not moving up or down on the y-axis. So that's another reason why they call it a 0. Let's go ahead and solve that one. How do I solve for x, class? We're going to add 10, so set it equal to 0. Add 10 to both sides. This gives me 5x equals 10. What do we do next? If I divide by 5 on both sides, then my answer is x equals 2. What does that mean? X equals 2 is the same thing as the factor 5x minus 10. Thanks. Class, what do I do with this one? Set it equal to 0 and add radical 5. X equals radical 5. So when working with polynomials, they might give you a 0. This is an example of a 0. Here's another example of a 0. The reason why is that your y-coordinate is 0. And if you have to turn them into factors, just get it set equal to 0. And you get a value inside your parentheses. That's called a factor. If they give you a factor and you want to find a 0, then set it equal to 0 and get x by itself.